the Corso at Manly, and Narrabeen Lakes were covered in water. The western part of Narrabeen Lakes was the shoreline. We had much, much higher sea level than now. And then the sea level started to drop when the climate changed about 116,000 years ago. And we started to cool. And we started to cool very, very quickly. And this was driven by the orbit of the Earth. And about 74,000 years ago, we had a massive volcanic eruption. That was in Indonesia. That was Toba. It was a supervolcano. Now, Mount St Helens was a pathetic little volcano of only 1 million cubic kilometre of aerosol. Krakatoa, equally pathetic, only 30 cubic kilometres of aerosols. We have supervolcanoes, Yellowstone National Park. We have supervolcanoes in New Zealand. For example, at Taupo, and we pray for another one. That's the only way we're going to get the weather so come. In Toba, that was also a supervolcano. 3,000 cubic kilometres of aerosols was banged into the atmosphere. And that was enough to cool down the planet. And that cooled down the planet such that we wiped out the tropics. We had a great migration of people. We humans almost became extinct. We went down from about 500,000 people to about 8,000 people. It was cold, and it kept cooling and cooling and cooling till about 18,000 years ago. And 18,000 years ago, we had ice sheets down to about Athens in Greece. Tasmania was covered in ice, and a good thing too. We had the Alps in eastern Australia with glaciers on them. We had 5 kilometres of ice on top of Scandinavia. Now that ice is gone, Scandinavia is rising. The ice sheet pushed down Scandinavia. It's now rising, and Holland's sinking. The same thing in Scotland. We had a kilometre of ice. That ice is gone. Scotland's rising. Eastern England's sinking. This is a normal process. So it's very, very hard to work out what sea levels do if the land's going up and down as well as the sea level's going up and down. 18,000 years ago, there was no rainforest in the Amazon. It was grasslands, and these grasslands very quickly bounced back into a tropical rainforest because we'd come out of a glaciation into an interglacial. And in an interglacial, temperatures go up and temperatures go down. And temperatures went down, and they went up at about 12,000 years ago, and then they fluctuated from 12,000 to 6,000 years ago. And in fact, sea level went up by about that much, 2 centimetres a year, between 12,000 and 6,000 years ago. We had sea level go up 130 metres in only 6,000 years. Now that was a sea level rise. In fact, 6,000 years ago, sea level was 2 metres higher than now. You can see it all along the cliffs here. Just at the bottom of the cliffs above the rock platform, there's a bit of a dip, where the waves have actually eroded the bottom of the cliffs. We had warm periods and cool periods, just fluctuating, warm and cold, warm and cold. In Roman times, it was warm. So warm that they grew grapes and citrus fruit as far north as Hadrian's Wall. They had olives right up the Rhine Valley. It was warm. It was very warm, about 5 degrees warmer than now. What happened to sea level? Well, it didn't go up. And in fact, the Roman port of Ephesus is 15 kilometres inland and 7 metres above sea level. The ancient city of Lydia, where gold coins were first made, is now about 4 metres below sea level. I've seen it. I've sailed along the streets of Lydia, just off Antalya on the southern coast of Turkey. So land has gone up and down in historical times, and the round warming suddenly stopped with a volcano in 535 AD, that was Krakatoa. 536 AD, Rhubarb exploded. November 536 AD, we went through the tail of a comet, and in 536 we had a period of time when the sun was very inactive and it couldn't blast away the cosmic radiation. We had 4 things that made it cold, and made it very cold. It took us 2 years to drop from global warming into the Dark Ages. It was cold, we had crop failure, we had famine, we had starvation, and the weak population got hit by the plague. We wiped out half of Europe. And then it bounced back into warm times again. The first to feel it were the Vikings. In about 900 AD, the seas were calmer. They could take their boats across to Canada, to Newfoundland. And they grew grapes in Newfoundland. They called it Vinland. You couldn't grow grapes in Newfoundland now, it's far too cold. In Greenland, it was called Greenland for some odd reason because it was green. They grew crops there, barley and wheat. They had sheep and cattle in areas that are now covered by